What is up, everybody? Cinephile Mike is here, and it is episode 11 of Oscar Rewind Season 2, my bi-weekly series of videos dropping every Tuesday and Friday, where I look back and revisit the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I love digging deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is you will discover a new older favorite or revisit something you maybe haven't seen in a while. Or, maybe it's something that someone told you about, and now when you hear me, you're like, maybe not. Happens sometimes. But before we jump into all that, do me a favor, click that subscribe button and like the video. You don't want to miss any of the good cinematic goodness coming up on Oscar Rewind. Now, as we have been doing this month, we are looking at the Best Picture nominees. I'm trying to hit as many of the producing teams as I can that were nominated for those 10 Best Pictured flicks. And this week, the two that we're discussing are part of a brutal team. Think you know where I'm going with that. If not, we'll get there in a moment. First up today is Entertainment One's Girl House. Released direct to streaming platforms after its premiere at the Ottawa International Film Festival, Girl House is written by Nick Gordon and directed by Trevor Matthews and John Knautz. As the film was released directly to streaming platforms in February of 2015, there is no box office information for me to report on this film. However, we can look at those critical scores. Now, based on 11 reviews, the film is certified fresh with a 73% and a lower 43% on the popcorn meter, culled from over 500 audience reviews. Now, as for any award season journey for this horror flick, there was none. Not even for the film festival at which it debuted. So let's just get into the connection for this year. As I said, this film is brutal. You can see the blood in that poster. And this film's writer, Nick Gordon, was one of the 5 nominees who shared the Best Picture nomination for The Brutalist this year. However, 10 years before he would be attending the Oscars for that film, he wrote and earned his first producing credit on this indie flick. So, let's talk about it. Girl House is the story of Kylie Atkins, played by Ali Corbin, who has fallen on some hard times, and as a means to pay the rent and pay her college tuition because her family can no longer help her, she moves into Girl House, a home for women her age, college students, who are constantly under watch by subscribers, as this house produces adult content 24/7. You can click and go around to any room and see where the girls are, or just see what they're doing in their everyday life. It's the absolute voyeur's delight. Now, this home and website, owned by entrepreneur Gary, played by James Thomas, promises to be a safe venture for Kylie. And as we will learn, there is no threat coming to her from Gary as well. That was a clever little take, which I won't go too much into. Now, to protect the girls in his investment, the location of the home is not publicly known, and everything is monitored and safe online. Several security guards monitor the property, and a whole room full of programmers monitoring everything going on. Now, in the new home, Kylie meets her new roommates / co-workers, Devin, played by Alison Bath, Heather, played by Alicia Rotaru, Janet, played by Chastity Ballesteros, Mia, played by Nicole Ariana Fox, and Kat, played by Alice Hunter. Now, no sooner than she begins her first striptease for the cameras, the website's frequent visitor, known as Loverboy, played by George Carroll, is immediately enthralled. He kind of believes her to be the perfect nice girl and starts to become a little obsessed. Now, in an opening scene to the film, we will see that Loverboy, whose real name we never actually learn, we do see how he got that nickname that he uses as his handle, he has a bit of a tragic past, and needless to say, to cross him would not be the best thing for anyone involved. Shocker, this happens. And as he has a background with computer programming, he is able to locate Girl House, and this will lead to the Girl House becoming a slaughterhouse as he seeks vengeance before, as a result of childhood trauma coming to the forefront. Now, this is not to put Kylie in a poor light, because she sometimes doesn't fit this mold, because she has taken up with Ben, played by Adam DeMarco, a former childhood friend who she is reconnected with. And we will see who will survive and come out of this night unscathed. Okay, first off, if anyone's expecting something more than just a schlocky, pulpy horror film, despite that high critic score, but again, it's from 11 people, you're not going to get that here. Now, perhaps these types of films are up your alley. Sometimes they're up mine, if you get a really good pulpy horror flick. But this one, mm. Now, here's what I at first attempted and appreciated for the film that kind of got me excited when I watched it is that it opened with a quote. And let me preface this, I'm not a fan of at all of the person, but the topic. The film opened with a disturbing quote from Ted Bundy, who basically, explained the relationship between men who are motivated to commit violence and those engaged in pornography and adult content. That's how they kind of frame this movie. So you think you're going to get a psychological thriller about someone who's really unhinged, and maybe we can get some kind of intelligent social commentary, kind of some of the work that Ryan Murphy does. I mean, Ryan Murphy's work, Monsters, American Horror Story, even Glee, it's pulpy, but there's some interesting stuff behind it. It's why he's able to corral the talent that he has. And while Loverboy here is given a backstory and a driving factor for what he does, we don't really get much of an exploration into him. It's like, you've wronged me, and so now I'm going to do what I do. And then, Gordon Script just falls into an opportunity to become an exploitation of women filmed in various states of undress and be subjected to various tortures that are put online for people to see, like a bizarre snuff film. And, Gordon, in his attempt to be clever with the material, it's frustrating because I don't love exploitation films unless there's some kind of social commentary to go with it. And here it's not there. I'm not invested in these characters. And also, unfortunately, the script is so weak. And I don't know if it's the script or maybe I have to put the fault at the directing, but the acting is really not very well done either. Shockingly, the best one is Carol as Loverboy, who has a few stronger moments when we kind of see him before he goes all Leatherface. And yes, I choose that reference specifically. um, Atkins, she's trying to carry this film. I think she does the best that she can, but the acting's not strong, so I'm not sure if that's her, if the directors are not giving her what she needs, what's in the script. And there's so little known about the backstory. We're supposed to care about her character, but you don't. And, she has this reunion with a childhood friend that feels so unearned. Are they going to survive the night? Are they not? You know, it's unfortunate. And also, the computer hacking that they employ as a plot device, this was weak. This script needed a few more passes. I think there was something that could have been there, but it fails. Even the kills could have been a little more creative if you were trying to really go for that Tarantino pulp effect, but doesn't happen. Look, here's what I'll say. For those that have been following me, I talked about The Brutalist. I wasn't a huge fan of that film for a variety of reasons, but the acting was still good. The cinematography was good. The script was a little bloated. But you know, that's obviously a much better film. So I have to say, in the preceding decade since Gordon did this, I mean, look, the first film of everyone is not always great. Courbet's first film, which I'm going to talk about later this week, is actually a strong example, and here's the opposite. But, in the last 10 years, Gordon has proved more adept in his producerial capacity. He produced The Forgiven, which is a slow burn thriller with Jessica Chastain that I recommend. It kind of got buried in a post pandemic 2021 release. And while I haven't seen the film, he produced the feature length film of Skin, which is by the same writer director that produced the Oscar nominated short. And I remember that short was incredible, and I've been meaning to watch the full length version, so I need to dig into that. It's better reviewed than this one. So I have to say, Gordon has grown. You know, Girl House was just a miss for me, and it really is kind of like The Apparition. It's just a one-star film. I had hoped for more reading the synopsis, and again, and based on the opening scenes, I thought this film was gonna really play and not go the full exploitative route, but alas, I was wrong. However, if you are a D-level horror fan and you just love the really bad ones, maybe this is for you. Go nuts. Girl House is currently streaming on Prime if you are so interested in watching it, but there are a lot better films you could spend 100 minutes on. All right. So that's where we're going to leave it with this one. This is one to maybe skip. The film I talk about later this week is a little bit better. I do, however, hope you enjoyed my take and always enjoyed Oscar Rewind. If so, please make sure you click that subscribe button, like the video, share the video, spread the word, get lots of people in on the conversation. You don't want to miss it. We're really just revving up into it. It's going to be great. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Find lots of great additional content on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right. Happy watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.